Hi, this is Lesley Swain, and I'm going to take you through my mini unit, which is on the lottery. And I hope to teach this to my eighth grade class. So I did a little bit of research on other teachers who have taught the lottery to see if eighth grade is appropriate. I didn't use much of their uh, curriculum. Most of this is just my thinking and knowing what my students are used to. So, to get into the lottery, which is this sinister tale of an everyday seeming community that ends up drawing lots to decide who they're going to kill that year, with the idea that maybe they're trying to manage population or have enough food to keep the um, community fed. So, students have interestingly also just finished reading The Giver, which has a lot to do with population control, people making decisions that aren't in their best interest for the benefit of the community. So I'm definitely going to try to pass the giver through this unit plan. So here we go. The anticipatory set is as follows. Students are given in pairs a set of cards that would constitute any normal summer day. So in pairs, they have to order what their ideal day or a normal day would be like for them from beginning of the end to the end of the day. So things like wake up, play video games, eat breakfast, text. So they can switch around the cards. They can argue a little about what they want to do first. Maybe they go to bed at 11. Um, and then there's like a number of passes with this anticipatory set. So they assemble their cards, then they share it with the pair next to them because it's tables of four. And then the teacher gives them three blank cards, and now they have the charge to fill out their day. So they need to, between the two of them, decide what would be the most important additions. I would model this. I would say myself, I would go on a bike ride because it's important for me to get exercise. It's good for my life. So students have now an improved day that they will then share with the other pair and then share with the group. I will ask, is this what a typical day looks like for you? So I'm setting up kind of this trap that the lottery starts with a typical day, but hey, anything can change. Um, they have to write, as we go into the story, a little bit about what they think this book is about. So I'm going to announce that we're going to read this story called The Lottery. Do you think this will be a typical story? And in fact, the lottery was so controversial that it's been banned many times throughout the history of its being on the planet. So before they read, I want them to write what they think this book is about or what they think this short story is about, a prediction based on what they know about lotteries and the fact that this was a controversial book. So they're going to write silently, and that's going to be the end of their into. Lots of reading for the through. The objective is students will analyze this short text for sensory imagery, character development, new vocabulary, and plot development. So in keeping with what eighth graders are doing, really looking at how to dissect a text. The reading standards are analyze how particular lines of dialogue or incidents in a story or drama propel the action, reveal aspects of character or provoke a decision, and determine the meaning of words and phrases. So I do a lot on the second standard in terms of looking at vocabulary, seeing how words mean in text, and them using word choice and such to understand what's going on. Guided practice. So they're in their group of four still. There's nice chunks of paragraph reading, so each student will now read one paragraph. So students are used to this. We read as a table, and each student is already numbered off, so it'll be first person reads the first paragraph and so on. Before we get there, I'm going to start them off with a very quick think aloud and just read the first sentence and have them really think about what the imagery is, what the sensory images are, what the vocabulary looks like. So the first sentence is, the morning of June 27th was clear and sunny with the fresh warmth of a full summer day. The flowers were blossoming profusely and the grass was richly green. So it starts very, beautiful and lush, and it's summertime. So I'm going to coach the students with questions, probably also put on the overhead so I can help out students who have any sort of special ed designation or anyone who just benefits from being a visual learner. So questions being, what kind of day is this? Where might this story be taking place? What kind of setting is this? What kind of sensory detail do we hear or see or smell? What does profusely mean? So the fact that what kind of day is this, where is this story taking place? If you read about the lottery, I read that, it doesn't have a specific place. We don't know where it is, or nor do we really know what time it's taking place. So if those questions come up, I'll be ready. We will start a word wall and a sensory images wall. So basically it's a poster that students put stickies on. So students will define words as they come along, and then they'll put the sticky note up on the wall, and then they'll do the same thing for sensory details. So the first one that comes up in that sentence is the fresh warmth. And so I would coach them through what that would, where that would go. Students are going to read, continue reading and working on those stickies. Next day, review of the word wall sensory image, and they pick up again at paragraph 5. This is when characters become much more obvious. And so now, in addition to words that they don't know and the sensory images, they're also going to be tracking for anything having to do with character development, who's new, how can we describe them, what do we learn about them, as well as plot development, anything that happens that's of note. So I would model with the first character that's really introduced, which is Mr. Summers, and so I put his name on the sticky note, and then I would elicit from the student, well, what do we know about Mr. Summers? For example, he leads square dances, he also organizes the lottery, like what do we know about his wife? Oh, she's a scold. What does that mean? What is a scold? Can you picture what this person looks like? Can you imagine his job? So trying to make the characters come alive. Students continue to read, getting into the plot more, and they're going to read all the way up until kind of the maybe the third page. So they're going to stop at Mr. Summers saying, well, guess we better get started, get this over with so we can get back to work. Anybody ain't here? So, of course, I'll use that voice. So we're going to do a turn and talk to kind of break up the reading. Students share their ideas on what's coming next at their table. What is Mr. Summers referring to? What is the community getting over with? Students will read more. They'll go to page 251, and I want them to read this pretty quickly because it's an exciting book. I don't want it to be slowed down or short story. So they read on to page 251, and then now we change it once more time, and there's some more questions that they're going to answer in their group of 4. And I always have kind of in the back of my mind that they can always write about it if they're not working well as pairs or quads. So here are some more questions. What do you notice about gender dynamics in the story? What are the male members of the community drawing for? What are Old Man Warner and Mr. Adams talking about? It's really interesting because it's like Old Man Warner is talking about how things used to be, and in The Giver we also had communities that had kind of broken out of the shell that they had been in. So what are they arguing about? Why is this significant? Can you make any comparisons to The Giver? We're going to finish the book or finish the short story, then they'll tackle this in a modified Socratic seminar. So listening and speaking standards there. They'll be prepared for this through homework, presenting claims and findings, and we've already practiced that. So what happens with a modified Socratic is students are separated in groups of 5, and then of those 5, one of the members will be nominated to be the speaker. So everyone has to prepare the speaker to be able to speak in the Socratic, but only one of them, ultimately 7 or 8 students per class, are going to engage in the Socratic. So the nice thing about that is the people who really want to talk are given the opportunity to talk, and those who feel uncomfortable can still get points for supporting. So this would be important differentiation. The question that the students will be laying claim to and speaking towards is the lottery, and these are questions I actually got off the internet with the citations here. Is the lottery a collective act of murdered? Is it morally justified? And I also modified the questions. Is tradition sufficient justification for such actions? How would you respond to the cultures that are different from ours that perform strange rituals? Don't know about that question. This one, imagine being so brainwashed that you relinquish all human responsibility towards other. Do you know of situation in which humankind turns their backs on each other? Why do we do that? When have we done that? So then they do their modified Socratic, and then there's a number of extensions that continue to build on listening and speaking. So they could free write on the same questions and then read those free writes to the class, or they would write a play from the point of view of one of the child characters. So if you were a child of, for example, Dickie de la Croix, how would children make meaning of growing up with the threat that they would have to stone their neighbors to death? And then the writing, we're not done yet. We're going to have 3 different writing options. So it's kind of a jigsaw writing. So again, this would help with differentiation. So students can choose what they write. They should hopefully feel interested in one of the topics here. So here's the first prompt. You have just finished reading The Giver, a book that deals with ideas of knowledge and ignorance, being part of a community and being alone. In what ways in the lottery do we see a community gone wrong? In what ways do we see a typical community? What rules do you see in this community? Why do you think these rules exist? We talked a lot about rules in the Giver unit. And then finally, what characters play a part in this story? How are the characters responsible for what happens in the surprise ending? So these will be on prompts, like it'll be on a piece of paper, and then I will model for them how I would basically lay a claim. I can do this on the document camera. As always, when students are writing, I'm reading as they write, and I'm marking who I can pull later as an exemplar, and then I share that with the class, and they feel embarrassed and proud. And then I'm really excited with the through or the beyond. And so for them to complete the mini unit, we are going to have students number off and assigned into families with the same names as in the story. So it'll be like an extended family, all as if they live in this community. So students will be Delacroix or Hutchinson. We will have the male select names for their family, and Old Man Warner will complain about the process. So names will be drawn from the box, and a victim will be revealed. We will not stone them, but we will discuss what it would mean to remove that person from the community. I got that idea from this site. And this story lends itself to lots of conversations, so further extensions could be pulled out in terms of how the heck the community survives this way. All right, that's the end of my mini unit. It was enjoyable.